Remember when conservatives used to be anti-war? They would pride themselves on standing opposed to CIA-initiated regime change operations and plundering the resources of other countries. They were for minding our own business and building up a base of operations here at home. Well, now all that's changed under Team MAGA. Donald Trump boldly claims that the United States is officially running Venezuela.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to...
That's safe, proper, and judicious regime change. Make no mistake about it. That's what this is about. This is about plundering resources, and we'll get to that in a second.
Be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious, because that's what we're all about. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we would.
Imagine that. The Venezuelans stole American oil. It just so happens American oil happens to rest under the feet of Venezuelans. That's our oil. Make no mistake about it. We're going to make Venezuelan oil American again.
It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing, and we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track.
So you're saying
make a lot of money for the people and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want the Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The
Is that weeks,
infrastructure
months,
is rotted.
years?
It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground.
Extracting oil is in blow-up territory. I mean, it's very dangerous to take that stuff from the ground. We got to be super safe when we steal oil that doesn't belong to us. 303 billion barrels of heavy sour crude that could potentially power the United States single-handedly for 40 to 45 years. Not to mention to reinvigorate and breathe new life into the petrodollar scam, because the dollar is floundering. But if we find new oil reserves that all of a sudden, oh, look at that, it belongs to America now. Now we can continue to bolster the fiat currency petrodollar Ponzi scheme instituted by the Zio International Banking Cartel. So this is a Zio banker cartel operation, otherwise known as, we're going in there just like we did to Afghanistan and Iran and Iraq. We're doing this for our buddies over there in Israel. But wait, there's more.
It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground, because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro, and right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need.
We'll do whatever you need, United States Empire, because I'm a puppet dangling from your string now. This is all for the Zio central banking cartel. You do know that, right? And how many metric tons of gold do they have? How much copper can we benefit from plundering?
She really doesn't have a choice.
Referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
Well, no, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country.
We're going to take a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground of Venezuela, but we're just doing it for the Venezuelans. We're not doing it for the Zio international banking elite or anything. We're not acting as the lapdogs of Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. No, sir, we are doing this for democracy and democracy only. And lest you doubt that plundering resources is what we're really in Venezuela for, so that we can prop up the petrodollar reserve currency scam, listen to what Laura Richardson said back in 2023, because basically she says the quiet part out loud.
If I talk to my number two adversary in the region, Russia. I mean, I've got, of course, the countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua with Russia relationships. But why this region matters, with all of its rich resources and rare earth elements. You've got the lithium triangle, which is needed for technology today. 60% of the world's lithium is in the lithium triangle: Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. You just have the largest oil reserves, light sweet crude, discovered off of Guyana over a year ago. You have Venezuela's resources as well, with oil. Copper, gold. We have the Amazon, lungs of the world. We have the 31% of the world's fresh water in this region too. I mean, it's just off the charts. We have a lot to do. This region matters. It has a lot to do with national security, and we need to step up our game.
In other words, we've got resources to plunder and people to kill, and we don't care who tries to get in our way. We're going to knock them down. But do you remember when Donald Trump on the campaign trail used to speak against nation building and regime change operations?
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. Our current strategy of nation building and regime change is a proven absolute failure. We will break the cycle of regime change. We must abandon the failed policy of nation building and regime change that Hillary Clinton pushed in Iraq, in Libya, in Egypt, and in Syria. Regime change takes chaos. You've seen how that works over the last 20 years. That hasn't been too good. Not a reckless interventionist globalism. We're getting out of the nation building business. We're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place.
We're going to get out of the nation building business by running other countries and plundering vast resources, so we can help the Venezuelans and Americans. Make no mistake about it. Americans and Venezuelans will be helped. Not corporate elitists, not Zio international banking cartel members, and certainly not our buddies over there in Israel. Only you guys, not ExxonMobil or any of those guys, man. Just come on, what are you thinking? And if it wasn't clear by now that Alex Jones, who used to be against globalism and regime change and CIA covert operations, listened to him promote neocon wars for the Zio international banking elite. This is pathetic.
This morning, at about 1:35 Eastern Time, on Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, President Trump ordered precision military operations and extraction of Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela, and his wife.
Called Operation Absolute Resolve. They're absolutely resolved to stealing property from somebody else, just like they steal your property through the income tax and through property taxes. Do property taxes help you? No, they don't. Do income taxes help you? No, they don't. And yet here's the U.S. government saying they're going to invade, or they did invade, and now they're running another country so that they can help the people of that land. If they're not willing to help the people of this land, and keep in mind, Donald Trump, and this isn't just Donald Trump, it's all the other puppets like Barack Obama, Barack Obama, and creepy Uncle Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris, and all the other presidents and would-be presidents of the United States. They wanted that ring of power so they could parasitically live off the American people under the banner of supporting and helping the American people. And then when they get into office, they do the exact opposite. Donald Trump has the House, he has the Senate, he has the executive branch in the form of the President of the United States sitting behind the desk resolute at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. He has the Supreme Court stacked in his favor, and still he has all the reins of power you could possibly have, and he has the power to fulfill his promise of ending the income tax, and he will not do it because he doesn't work for the American people. He works for the Zio international banking elite. But here's some more pathetic Fed slop, as they call it, from Alex Jones.
Not one U.S. serviceman died. Not one piece of equipment was even damaged. The level of coordination is just, quite frankly, frightening. Now, let's separate that for now and come back to it later. I have, in 31 years, never supported any offensive military operations of the U.S. because it's all been for globalism. It's all been for the rules-based order. So for those of you out there that actually want to understand what's happening, it's a fact what's going on. You can make a decision about whether it's right or wrong. But the rules-based order was set up by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, via the UN. And it means the UN and this whole global body decides when nation states can defend themselves and what they can do.
He really thinks his audience is that stupid. Maybe for the most part, they are that stupid. Anybody who owns the Federal Reserve note, they corner the market on the issuance of that note and the value of that note. Anybody who owns that is your enemy. It doesn't matter if they're part of the globalism of the UN or the globalism of the empire known as the United States or China or Russia or whatever. Whatever central banking cartel owns that currency, that is a dishonest money system, and it's basically a mafia setup. It's a counterfeiting ring mafia, and that is what is being supported, protected, and defended right here. So it doesn't matter that U.S. service members weren't harmed in this invasion in Venezuela. It doesn't matter that not one piece of military equipment was damaged. What matters is we need to mind our own business, and we need to institute a sound money system, and we need to relieve and lighten the burden of Americans by getting rid of the income tax, the domestic terror cell known as the IRS, getting rid of the Federal Reserve, getting rid of property taxes so that we can truly be getting rid of all the gun laws. That's another thing the Trump administration hasn't done. With all this power, they could actually institute and reinvigorate the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yet they continue to infringe on Americans' right to keep and bear arms by keeping all of these federal gun laws in place.
Trump has said he's going back to the Monroe Doctrine. Even before that, Thomas Jefferson's doctrine of the Barbary Wars, the Barbary Pirates. Venezuela was the richest nation per capita in our hemisphere until about 30 years ago. Then they got socialisted 26 years ago, who were really communists. And it became a total hellhole. And they ran Smartmatic and Dominion, and all of it were the piggy bank for the Democrats, the CIA. They ran the Mexican drug cartels, and they were basically in cahoots with Cuba. So this move is not a neocon war where we're off blowing up the Middle East, you're doing all that, or starting world Russia. It's about hemispherically, under the Monroe Doctrine and under U.S. policy before the age of the globalists.
The Monroe Doctrine, just to break it down in layman's terms, the people in the United States, it was 1823, I think it was. It's like There's no more Western expansion. The West is ours. You take the East. We won't invade Europe. Europe can't invade us or colonize us. That's what the Monroe Doctrine is. It's just warring factions, warring government factions saying you can't come to our geographic location and harm our people. We can only harm our people, and we won't come to harm your people. Only you can harm your people. So we got this agreement under the Monroe Doctrine, right, guys?
It's about going back to that. So Thomas Jefferson would have gone to war with Venezuela. He would have had a blockade. He would have blocked the drug boats. But it wasn't about the drug boats. That was just Trump's legalese saying it's law enforcement. This was bigger.
Drug boats. First of all, if a guy would have done something bad, something evil, something immoral, it doesn't matter. Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson, it doesn't matter. You could pick any one of the founding fathers, George Washington. Even Washington said the government is not eloquence, it's not reason, it is force, and like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Government is in and of itself illegitimate because government is slavery. Government is the initiation of violence, force and violence on innocent people who have done nothing wrong. That's what government is. So you can appeal to a personality, but that's all that is a cult of personality. It is wrong to invade another country. How do we know that? Because we wouldn't want to be invaded. We wouldn't want to be taken over. We wouldn't want other rules imposed on us. Because the U.S. government is doing a bad enough job trying to impose their rules on Americans.
1990, and Manuel Noriega, who was a CIA drug dealer and wouldn't pay them their cuts, so George Walker Bush invaded all the rest of that. No, this was about the U.S. exercising its territorial control in this hemisphere. It was about ending the rules-based order and letting the world know the U.S. is standing up for its own sovereignty and control of this hemisphere. Which under globalism,
the U.S. is standing up for its own sovereignty by invading another sovereign country. That's what Alex Jones is saying.
It was undermined by design, Jimmy Carter, and then Obama, finally handing over the Panama Canal, and so much more. So the United States has been put in a very bad position on the verge of collapse. And Trump, in an emergency operation with the tariffs, everything else he's done securing the borders, and this military operation in Venezuela, has brought the U.S. stock up in the world everywhere and let the world know that we're not going to just go bye-bye like the CFR has wanted and have this Chinese communist century that replaces America as the world superpower. And look, I don't want America to be an empire, but if we end world dollarization, we will be in the worst depression you've ever seen, basically forever. And that was the plan.
And that's what needs to happen. Yeah, a lot of bad things are going to happen when the dollar collapses, but it needs to collapse because to continue to prop it up is to continue to engage in evil and criminality and to continue to propagate and promote one of the biggest frauds on this planet, frankly.
But if we end world dollarization, we will be in the worst depression you've ever seen, basically forever. And that was the plan. So those of you rooting against President Trump have no idea what it would mean if his operations failed. And he's barely winning.
Oh, you mean the President Trump who continues to obfuscate and hide and cover for all the billionaire pedos on the client list? Yeah, oh, look, Venezuela's happening over here. Let's forget about that client list nonsense and all the kids who are dramatically affected by it and will be affected by it for the rest of their lives. Let's focus our attention over here on, look at all the pretty resources of Venezuela.
If we end world dollarization, we will be in the worst depression you've ever seen, basically forever. And that was the plan.
As if Donald Trump isn't good buddies with Larry Fink from BlackRock in the first, as if BlackRock doesn't have its hand in this, in the fraud, in the abuse, in the scandal, as if BlackRock isn't controlled by Israel. This is Alex Jones trying to engage in this WWE dog and pony show under this massive big top, and he's just playing his role as a stagehand and an actor.
So those of you rooting against President Trump have no idea what it would mean if his operations fail. And he's barely winning on all the major fronts he's fighting. And that's what's scary. If you have any idea how dangerous the situation would be if we just sat back and allowed all these multinational powers through BlackRock and the globalists to divide and conquer our country, it'd be over. They had a cloud pivot strategy under the Great Reset to collapse Europe, to collapse the U.S., Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and then dictate the terms of our surrender to the globalist system. So for the first time in my 31 years on air, it'll be 32 in April, 2 months from now, I tacitly supported constitutionally Trump's right to do this. But I had major issues with whether or not the CIA would be able to sabotage it and give Maduro a heads up. That's why Trump, since Christmas, 5 times, this is exclusive from my sources, had the military ready, in the air, about to go, but would pull them back at the last minute. That way, when he finally launched the real attack, the Democrats on the Maduro payroll, the SHOCkIng payroll, wouldn't be able to catch our helicopters and planes in the air and our troops. The first 5 minutes, they hit thousands of sites. They were able to send Delta Force in. They captured Maduro and his wife. It was incredible, without one U.S. casualty. This is historic. And Trump did a masterful job. Hegseth did a masterful job. Marco Rubio, I've had big problems with since he got on board with us, is a force of nature. And it's just very, very exciting to see all this happening. So America's back. This was an incredible success. And Maduro was a dictator, suppressing his people. They're celebrating everywhere.
So do you still doubt that Alex Jones got the call? This guy is so on the payroll of Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, it's not, and the central banking elite, it's not even funny.
And Trump did a masterful job. Hegseth did a masterful job. Marco Rubio, I've had big problems with since he got on board with us, is a force of nature. And it's just very, very exciting to see all this happening. So America's back. This was an incredible success. And Maduro was a dictator, suppressing his people. They're celebrating everywhere. And it's so exciting they're going to get their oil now. The U.S. built their refineries. The type of oil they have is very thick and very hard to process. The main refineries in Houston were built in the last 80 years for Venezuela. And when Trump makes that point, it's the truth. We built the Panama Canal too. That was given away. So the U.S. is taking back what is ours. It's popular with the people in those countries. And Americans should learn their history and realize what Trump is doing is truly the pragmatic moves you'd make if you were standing up for U.S. interests.
The U.S. is taking back what is ours by occupying a foreign land and stealing the resources, is what Alex Jones is saying there. Taking back what is ours. That'd be like China saying, we're going to take back Montana, Utah, Colorado, and Missouri because it's ours. We claim it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So we're going to go ahead and invade your country and take those. But we're also going to take California and Florida.
It was a gamble, but so far it succeeded in flying colors, grand slam, royal flush, call it what you want. It is amazing. And it sends a very strong message to China, Russia, and others that America's back. So that's the reality. It's about undermining UN control, undermining the globalist rules-based order, they call it, and about the return of sovereignty. And it's a very, very good thing. And yeah, Putin wants the end of that too, because...
Think about how nonsensical Alex Jones' statement is there. The return of sovereignty as we invade a sovereign nation. Blow up a sovereign nation's boats in international waters. Kill, I think the body count right now is like 80 Venezuelans, including innocent Venezuelans that don't have anything to do with this stuff. It was a precision strike, though. A lot more people could have died, Brian. You have to understand. How is this a return to sovereignty when we just invaded a sovereign country?
People have a right in their own hemisphere, in their own surrounding areas, to deal with their own issues, not have the UN doing it. The UN is the most corrupt organization ever, and controlled by the globalists and Rothschilds. So this is the right move. The world respects us because of this.
As if Donald Trump himself isn't controlled by the Rothschilds when he was bought out by the Rothschilds Inc. in the 1990s, when he got upside down financially with Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. And the Rothschilds Inc. employee was Wilbur Ross. 25 years later, Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States and makes that Rothschilds Inc. employee Wilbur Ross the Commerce Secretary in the Trump administration, and then gives Steve Mnuchin the Treasury Secretary job. And you're talking about this isn't a Rothschilds operation when the guy who did it is bankrolled by the Rothschilds Inc. literally?
It went off so flawlessly. They had a gobs operation, and I just got to say it's good to have our military back under U.S. control. And now we're going to take back control of the rest of the country legally and lawfully and stop the globalists. God bless you all. That's the bottom line. If you're a new viewer, don't know what the rule-based order is or don't understand.
This man right here is pushing for socialism, Marxism, which is nothing more than collectivism. And that's what Donald Trump is. He's a collectivist. Screw the individual. We're going to do this for the sake of national security and the good of the whole. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. A lot of sellouts. I really appreciate your support. If you want to support this channel, you can do it for free. Just like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification icon. If you want, grab a shirt, become a channel member, but more importantly, understand that the government, and I'm talking about any government, is the armed, parasitic, psychopathic, narcissistic, criminal, lying, thieving gang you were afraid would take over in the absence of government. I will see you in the next video.